Anybody else? This gentleman at the back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've heard a bit tonight about negotiations and earlier on about the possibility of a nuclear-free zone in the Middle East. But I'd like, if I may, to ask the panel, can anybody on the panel come up with one piece of evidence from the history of the Zionist state, or indeed the history of Zionism before the Zionist state, that might help convince us tonight that there is any possibility of that state cooperating at any time in the future with a nuclear-free zone in the Middle East? And that being the case, if they can't come up with any such evidence to suggest there could be that potential for progress where Israel's nuclear weapons are concerned, is it not that if it's the case that there is no potential for progress, is it not entirely reasonable for the President of Iran to have said, not what Mr. Darwish deliberately, I think, perhaps misquoted him as saying about wiping Israel off the map, but to have said that we should hope for that Zionist state to disappear from the pages of history, just as East Germany disappeared from the pages of history, just as the Berlin Wall disappeared from the pages of history. I would imagine there are a few people here tonight who might actually agree with President Ahmadinejad and might think it's a bit unfair to label this man as some sort of genocidal demon for having that hope for the future that the Zionist state might disappear from history.
Thank you. Mohammad Sahebi.
First of all, thank you very much. I would like to add something and answer one point. Mr. Ahmad did not say that Israel must wipe off the map. It's, I think, part of the spiteful of propaganda made by Zionist media. He said Israel will be collapsed by its politicians' fundamental policies, and it is a reality right now, and you can be convinced. About the Middle East and Arab countries, I would like to emphasize that we ask for the entire Middle East region free of the nuclear weapons of mass destruction. And several times the authorities of Iran emphasized that. But it is unfair to ignore Israel's nuclear arsenals and instead focus and concentrate on Iran's peaceful nuclear activities. Those facilities which have been opened to inspectors of the IAEA, and as the last event, the inspectors of the IAEA came to Iran and inspected the Fardu facility.
Thank you, Adel Darwish.
I think it is interesting to answer Samir's question. I spoke to possibly 12, 13 Arab governments, and none of them actually been assured. Like you say, since might come back and elaborate that. None of them actually been assured of Iraq's intentions, and none of them actually believe that Iran wants nuclear weapons to be in parity with Israel, but to blackmail the Gulf into their own Germany there. And I think we had the issue here with Colonel Gaddafi when he was supplying the IRA with explosives, and I just wonder if, again, some other organization appear like the IRA and supported by Spain or whatever every country. How do you feel? So how actually do you feel if you're an Egyptian and Hamas is actually supplied weapons by Iran, and by going through smuggling twice through Egyptian borders? How do you feel if you are an Israeli and Iran is actually supplying Hezbollah with not just the weapons, but the ideology itself of destroying Israel? So, well, I mean, Hezbollah is I mean, I'm just saying that why you feel threatened by people who are supplying an organization that is actually taking action against you. That's actually facts of life. As for Israelis giving up their weapons, of course, any electorate in the world would actually rather see their taxes going on schools and hospitals and peaceful program rather than on weapons. And we'll actually reach a point when the Israelis spend more budget on education and on health rather than weapons. Of course they will choose that.
Thank you. One more round of questions and I think then we'll wind up. Sir?
My name is Nader Rastikar and I'm asking this question as an Iran-Iraq war veteran. I'd like to know from the panel, when will the suppliers of WMD to Iraq be prosecuted for all the atrocities and all the victims which are still to this day living in Iraq?
Thank you. The lady with the hijab.
Thank you. I just now friends of Lebanon. I just wanted to make a quick comment to Mr. Darwish about the ideology of Hezbollah being given to us by the Iranians. The idea is that the Israelis have been attacking Lebanon way before the Iranian revolution, and we have had the ideology of resistance way before Hezbollah came about. Just so that you know, we have been resisting Israel since to the panel, His Excellency from the Iranian Embassy did say that the Iranian programs were started in the 1970s and it was agreed upon and open. Why is it such a big deal now? Is it because it's not the Shah who's in power? Yeah.
Right in the back, yes.
I just want to ask Mr. Adel, he mentioned Bahrain that getting supported by Iran. Can you give us a proof that Iran is supporting Bahrain? I mean, what is happening in Bahrain now?
Okay, thank you. Dr. Hai?
I want to ask Dr. Adel also the same question, the way we put it. What is his opinion if Israel supplied the same thing to India against Kashmir?
Okay, thank you. And one last question.
It is not a question, but I'll try to make it a question, Your Lordship. I think in a recent meeting in an embassy, an Arab embassy in London, a senior Egyptian politician did talk about quite openly and quite frankly. I think Mr. Darwish was there, Dr. Wafiq was there as well, as the memory Ahmad, probably a number of you was there too. That the fear of the Arab countries is real. That and it's not the fear that this fear isn't about the Iranian people. It is actually about the Iranian regime and its intention in the region. The words, and I'll try to translate them from Arabic to English, is that it's not acceptable to any Muslim country in the region that a regime in Iran should spread its own theology on the region on the wings of an acute nuclear power.
Okay, thank you. Adel, I think most questions are to you. If you dare answer them, do it.
Well, it's just a question, just trying to, again, people get a little bit passionate about things. I'm just talking about realpolitik. I'm actually a historian and journalist. I'm at neither side when it comes to Israel or Iran. They're on both houses, as far as I'm concerned. It's actually, I'm stating about the real politics, and my job is I speak to diplomats and speak to politicians, so I'm just giving you an opinion. But I just found that there's a little bit of few gaps I want you to. On the question of Bahrain, I personally actually covered 1998. There was a cell of Hezbollah in Bahrain.
This is a propaganda from the government.
Well,
It's okay, please listen. You cannot disagree, but you can listen.
You asked me, I actually, as a journalist, I wasn't alone.
Okay, that's fine.
There's a number, obviously, actually, there's no point answering the question because I'm not going to convince you.